Hello, welcome to my channel. I hope that you're having a fab day today. I hope that you're happy and healthy and that you're being kind to yourselves. Today, I'm very excited because we're doing quite a big build today. I decided, let's build Edinburgh. Why not? I mean, it's the capital of my home country, Scotland, in case you couldn't tell from my accent. And I think it's one of the most beautiful cities, so I wanted to allow inspiration from Edinburgh and incorporate that into my build today. So I hope that you enjoy it, and it is part of my Story Speed Build Sunday series, so I'll be dropping kind of little stories throughout, I guess. I'm thinking this is going to be a 3-part mini-series. So yeah, it's a little bit of a longer video for my videos anyway. I think it's about half an hour long. I hope that's okay. If it is, just sit back, grab a cup of tea or a little snack or something, get comfy and enjoy. Okay, so to start with, I wanted to get the terrain level right, so I just messed around with that. Basically, if you don't know, Edinburgh, well, I'm basing this build off of the Old Town in Edinburgh, and that runs from, if you don't know, it runs from Princes Street, which is like the main shopping street in Edinburgh, and it's just basically a massively long street. And then you have the Prince's Gardens, and then it goes down the hill, and then the hill coming up the other side is the Old Town, leading up to the Royal Mile, which runs parallel with Princes Street. And then if you walk up the Royal Mile, you'll get to the kind of path up to the castle. So all of that is on a hill, and that's the kind of area I was inspired by. And so yeah, I was just messing around trying to get that, because that area is very famous for the layout of the buildings and the little like stairwells and alleyways weaving in between the buildings. So that's what I was trying to capture, and I had a lot of fun doing that. Originally, I'd actually wanted to do the part of the Royal Mile, where the cathedral was. So I tried to build a cathedral. I tried to build that cathedral, and then I just tried to build any cathedral because it wasn't working. And oh my lord, that is difficult. Like, I've never tried to build a building like that before, but like, how do you do that? It's so difficult. I tried to look at reference photos of people who'd built one in The Sims to see kind of what things they used or how they went about trying to convey certain things. I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. It's so difficult. So if you build like grand palaces or cathedrals or anything like that in the game, you are a magician, because that is difficult. So yeah, we scrapped that idea. Let's leave that. Bye. On you go. Maybe I'll come back to it in the future. I don't know. But for now, not a chance. So anyway, I decided instead to build just the kind of buildings and the streets, that sort of atmosphere. And I have this segment up here that we're working on now. We don't work on that yet. I haven't started on that. You'll see the shell, and that's all it is as of right now. But I'm thinking that I might do that as kind of an area of the Royal Mile. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what it turns out as, but I'm thinking that's kind of the vision I'm going to go with, is something like that. Because that little area with the arches is actually, I kind of got inspired by an area of the Royal Mile. Across from the cathedral, there's arches into a little courtyard area, and then there's, I don't know if it's like the tourist information or something maybe that's through there. So that's what I was inspired by there. So maybe we'll do kind of a Royal Mile area up there. Not sure yet. But this area that we're working on today is actually inspired by a very famous street in Edinburgh. I keep wanting to say New York. I don't know why. But yeah, and actually, I didn't know the name of the street until I looked up for recording this. And the name of the street is Victoria Street. And if you don't know, my name is Victoria, so it's just meant to be. It's apparently the most photographed area in Edinburgh. And it's famous. I'll pop a picture up on the screen, by the way. It's known for its colourful shop fronts. Basically, it goes up the street, like around the street, up a hill, and it's got colourful shop fronts all the way along that are a few stories high, and then there's buildings, stone buildings on top of that, but they're set back a little bit, so there's this terrace area above the shop fronts, which is what you can see right here. So I was trying to not replicate that, because none of this is a replication, but I was going with that sort of style and that idea and playing with that. And I had a lot of fun doing it, and I think it turns out really funky. But yeah, that's what that street was like. I didn't want to do it, I mean, obviously I can't do it without curved walls, but I didn't want to do it as like little diagonal walls all around, because I felt like it would just look a little bit rough. And yeah, I just thought I would do it as a straight line, just because I didn't think it would translate very well. Because that's the problem, I think. A lot of things in real life that are so beautiful don't always translate so great into The Sims, so we often have to alter things, and that was one of the things I altered here. As well as, normally, I think it's very difficult to find the right balance in The Sims with mismatching windows and doors, things like that, while in real life, you know, so many buildings have mismatching windows and doors and stuff, and it just works, adds to the character. But in The Sims, it just looked wrong, you know? And that's what I was trying to find a balance of, and I think it turns out well, but I did mix windows and doors with all these different buildings, you can see them, and I had fun doing that because I felt like I was able to do it with this kind of build. Like, I didn't think it looked stupid, whereas normally I would think it looks a little bit weird sometimes, especially with the way I do it. Maybe I'm just not a great builder, I don't know. But I had fun playing around with the mixing and matching of those sort of things. And this is the ground floor sort of area. Now, I don't actually know how you get up to that terrace area in like the real life Edinburgh. I think it's just a street at the back that happens to be so much higher because it's all on a hill. So here I have, when you go down just to the right, there's a path up to like the next level of the terrain, and then there's stairs up to the back of those buildings where you can get through. So that's what I've done there, and I like that it's kind of like nooks and crannies that you're tucking your way around to get around this place. I think that's really fun, and it's going to make screenshots pretty interesting as well. I'm excited to, when I finish the build, just go around and take loads of screenshots of these funky alleyways and stuff. But yeah, so I'm working on all this just now, and I had a lot of fun doing the exteriors of these because I have never done shop fronts and stuff like that before. So it was fun to give it this like bustling street kind of vibe, because it is, in real life, it's a very busy area, it's a very touristy area. So I wanted to be able to try and bring that sort of atmosphere into it. And I do think that even though there's no Sims about when it's done, it does look busy, which is really fun, because obviously we're not going to have many Sims here because Sims 4, you know. But regardless, hopefully it'll look a little bit busier, which is, it's good. Yeah. Do you know, I've actually not really been to Edinburgh that many times. Like, thinking about it, I never realised, it probably seems a bit weird, right, that I'm from Scotland and I haven't been to our capital that many times, but then to me it's not that weird. I just never, because Edinburgh's such a busy touristy place, I personally think a lot of us Scottish people, we're not inclined to go there because we don't want to deal with all the tourists. Like, it's so busy. Yeah, I haven't been that many times. The first time I went, or that I can remember going, was for my 21st, and me and my friend went, and we stayed in a hotel, and we went for like a shopping trip and went and wasted all our money on stupid stuff, but it was my 21st, so it was fun. And we actually booked a ghost tour, and I have a really weird obsession with horror. I don't get scared by horror, like, it just doesn't affect me, and I genuinely think it's because my brother, who's 10 years older than me, when I was about 8, I want to say 7 or 8, he made me watch The Grudge. And I didn't know what it was, like, he just set it up as like not being a horror and stuff, so I was just like, oh yeah, I'll do anything with my big brother, like, it's fun, he wants to spend time with me. And oh my, I was so scarred from that. I was like 8. So yeah, and then after watching that, I had to sleep between my parents in their bed for weeks. But then, I mean, spoiler alert if you haven't seen it, but oh well. I still didn't feel safe sleeping in between my parents because in the film the boy comes up the duvet. So like, I was lying there and I would still think he's gonna come and get me, he's just gonna slide up the bed. So yeah, I struggled. But yeah, so I genuinely think that has like changed me as a person, because I don't find any horrors scary now at all. I could watch it and people are freaking out and I'm literally like, huh, okay, cool. Or people don't like watching horrors. My sister especially hates watching horrors with me because I giggle throughout the horror. Like, it's not that I do find it fun. I was gonna say it's not like I find it that funny, but like I do find them quite amusing. I don't know, maybe it's because I don't know what it is. I don't think I find it silly as such. I think I just giggle at the fact that I know people get scared at it. It's a bit messed up, I know. But, yeah. So people don't like watching horrors with me because I'm a bit obsessed. Anyway, where was I? Oh, so yeah, we booked a ghost tour, which I was really excited about because I thought, oh, this is like real life spooks. I love it. And it was quite fun, actually. It was. We got taken around different areas of the city. It lasted a few hours, so it was like a good chunk of time. And she would tell us, like, we'd go down an alleyway and she'd tell us of the story of something that happened here, or whatever, or different buildings when things went down and stuff like that. And we went to a graveyard and she spoke about Burke and Hare, the body snatchers. If you don't know who they are, they were murderers. They came from Ireland, I'm pretty sure. They were murderers and they sold their victims to a doctor, I think, and he would experiment on them. And then they would also go to graves and they would dig up the bodies and they would sell the corpses as well for experimentation. So they were pretty disgusting people. And do you know, I watched this YouTube channel and she's called Bailey Sarian. I don't know if anyone watches it. If you like murder mysteries, true crime, anything like that, go check her out because she is phenomenal. She does her makeup while she talks about true crime, which seems like a weird mix, but if you like seeing people do their makeup, like, I find it so satisfying. I don't wear much makeup normally myself. Like, the only time I wear makeup is doing these videos now. But I love watching people do their makeup, and then I love true crime and murder mysteries, and the way she presents them is just like so amazing. She's so funny. I mean, it sounds bad to say she's really funny while she's talking about these horrific stories, but like in the best way. So if that sounds interesting, I will link her channel down below. Definitely go check her out because she's so good. And I'm so like, it's so heartwarming to see because before lockdown she only had, I think, about 500,000 subscribers, and now she has 2 million. Like, that is so incredible for her. And oh, I just love her channel so much. Anyway, what was I saying about that? Yeah, so I always put in the comments of her videos because she's always like, suggest who you want me to talk about next. And I'm always like, Burke and Hare, because I feel like I just want like some Scottish representation on her channel. Like, I know she's American, so like, of course she's going to be more inclined to do American stories or American serial killers, but like, I want something Scottish now. But yeah, anyway, I don't know where. That was really kind of a pointless ramble, but my mind went there, so there we go. But yeah, on the ghost tour as well, we actually went to, I don't know if you know this, I don't think I knew this before the tour, but there's actually a whole like underground city under Edinburgh, basically, of different rooms, and they go down several different stories under the ground, and they spread out for miles under the city, so it's a gigantic network of rooms, and that in itself is horrifying to think about. Like, to me, that's really creepy, standing up there in the city and thinking about all these vast spaces under the ground, and a lot of them are not open to the public. Like, you can only go in a select few because a lot of them are unsafe or they haven't been excavated or whatever. So you can only go in a select few. So thinking about all those empty spaces that haven't been touched in hundreds of years, that to me is the scary part. But we got taken down there and we were in these dark rooms and stuff, and she was telling us about these ghosts that lived in like specific areas or did specific things, and like, I don't know, you might not believe in them, you might believe in them, I don't know. I personally am not sure how I feel about ghosts. Like, I don't not believe in them, but I don't think I 100% do. I feel like I'm open to the idea, but the thought of ghosts doesn't scare me anyway. So I don't know whether that's because I'm just not scared of ghosts, I don't know, or whether it's because I don't completely believe in them. I'm not sure. But I didn't find that the scary part. I found the scary part was the thought of all these empty spaces that were left like untouched for so long. It's like thinking about the underground in London, all those tunnels that haven't been touched in so long. That to me is scary. Like, that sort of stuff gives me the creeps, because it's your imagination, isn't it? Thinking what's there. If it's not had people going through it, like something could be living there. Like, that, to me, my imagination is very vivid, so like, I could freak myself out in that way. But yeah, I don't know where I was going with that. I'm sorry, I feel like it's going to be a really rambly episode. So if you don't like that, I really apologise. But yeah, ow, I'm so sorry, I had to crack my neck. what was I saying? I wanted to say something. Oh yeah, so I feel like Edinburgh, what I want to capture with this build is how historic it is and how much history is like in literally every nook and cranny. And like, I just feel like walking down any street in Edinburgh, you'll find something that has like so much history in it, or you'll just feel it. Like, I know from experience, like my now ex-boyfriend, he lives in Edinburgh and he moved there to study. And I would travel through from Glasgow and go stay with him every now and again. And when I would go, he would have classes during the day. So I would have the day to myself. And I would just go walking about the city. And I feel like it's one of those cities that you could go yourself and you just walk around like every day for a week and you won't get bored. Like, if you like history and you like architecture and you just have like, you just like that sort of atmosphere. Because I would just go walking around and it was just the most fascinating place. Like, you could really feel the history in every little cobblestone or every little crack in a wall. Like, it was amazing. It was really amazing. I had a lot of fun just walking around there, and I don't normally have a lot of fun just walking around by myself in a big city because I get a lot of anxiety when I'm like around in big crowds and things like that. It does really affect me. I don't like standing out, and I know that that's probably a little bit of a weird situation that we've got going on here, but I feel fine now because I feel like I'm just kind of talking to myself or talking to a friend, so like this I'm fine with. But if I'm out by myself in a space with lots of people, I just feel uncomfortable. I feel stressed. I feel, yeah. But I didn't feel like that in Edinburgh. I felt very relaxed because I did feel like I just completely blended into the millions of people that are there. And I felt like I could just walk around and be in awe and not worry about people judging me or people watching me or anything like that. I felt like I could be myself, and it was really, really refreshing. But then, having seen that, right, I mean, I'm not saying that Edinburgh isn't incredible, because I do think Edinburgh is a phenomenal city, and I'm so glad it's our capital because it has just the most amazing architecture, and it's a great city. If you haven't been, go. But I do feel like there are other cities in Scotland that are so incredible too, and they kind of get forgotten about. Like the capital of the Highlands, Inverness. I mean, I'm from the Highlands, so I have a deeper connection to Inverness than I do to Edinburgh. But Inverness is obviously well known for Loch Ness and the Loch Ness monster Nessie, but I feel like it has so much more history and it gets completely forgotten about too. Like, one of my friends showed me a wall on the side of a church in the centre of town, and you could see the bullet holes, and some still had bullets in the walls all the way along, and it was from a time during the Highland clearances. And that's just, that to me is incredible, to have that piece of history so well kept. And I mean, it's a heartbreaking piece of history. Like, if you don't know, the Highland clearances was mid 18th century. It kind of came about, and it was basically at a time where the United Kingdom came into being. So, you know, Scottish rule was taken over by England, and it was a messy time. There was a lot of, so basically Scotland back then was very rich in clan culture. Our clans were a massive thing. If you don't know what clans are, they're basically giant family trees, and you'd have your clan chiefs who were the head of the clans, and you know, the very wealthy clans like the Macintoshes or the Grants, the clan chiefs and the clans had a lot of power over the people and over the land and things like that. But when England came into power over Scotland, they didn't like that, because it was like they didn't have complete power, you know? So this was all kind of part of them taking back the power. And southern Scotland and England didn't like the way, like the lifestyle of the Highlanders. They felt like it was backwards and old-fashioned, so they wanted to modernise them and bring them with the times. And a way of them doing that kind of created a lot of wars, really. We had the Jacobite Rebellion at this point, where people were really trying to protect their land and things like that. And then this led to the Battle of Culloden, which is a very famous battle, complete bloodbath. Yeah, so that then also sped up the process of England kind of changing the Highlanders' ways, because after the Battle of Culloden, the clans lost a lot of their numbers because they died in the battle, so they lost a lot of power. And England had realised that sheep brought in a lot more money than people did, so they had decided they wanted the people's land in the Highlands for sheep. So this thing came about where they started paying people to leave their land so that the sheep could be moved in, and if people didn't agree, they were forced off their land. They were shipped off to different countries, Canada, America, or their houses were burned whether they were in it or not. Several people died being burned in their houses, and it's so heartbreaking to think that people were literally told either you bend at the knee or you lose your birthright, because these houses had been in these people's families for 500 plus years, and they were being forced out so that some sheep could live in their land. That's so heartbreaking, and there was so much bloodbath. Like, people were literally just dragged out of their houses and they were murdered or prosecuted or whatever to prove a point that you need to listen to us because we're taking your land. So yeah, that's a lot of history. I'm not going to go into it because it's so much more in depth than that. But that's actually why a lot of people have Scottish heritage in their families. It's because at this point in time where so many Scots were shipped out to different countries, and that's where a lot of it comes from, if that interests you at all. I'm so sorry for blabbing on about some history. If you don't like history, you probably hated this. I'm sorry to bore you if that's the case. I love history so much. I think it's so fascinating. And I think with a build like this, it lends itself really well to talk about some history because Edinburgh is such a historic city. But yeah, here I am including some apartments. I do a couple little flats above some of the shops because I think it's quite common just to have little kind of flats to let, really, because I know a lot of people have accommodation in Edinburgh but they maybe work on business so they're rarely there, or maybe they just own it to rent out, and they maybe come stay the winter months or something like that. But I know a lot of people rent out their accommodation if they live in Edinburgh. They rent it out during the Fringe, which happens in August, because people pay a bomb to rent accommodation during the Fringe. Like, it's in so much demand, people will pay anything for it. Like, my friend, he rented out a flat during the Fringe because he didn't want to have to keep travelling back and forth from Glasgow during it, and he paid so much. All he literally got was the tiniest room that had enough space for his bed, and the door opened and he couldn't open it completely because the bed was so close to it, and then when you walked in you had a little bedside table under the window, and then you had like a hanging rack for his clothes and stuff, but when you hung stuff on it, it blocked the path next to the bed, so basically he had to squeeze in the door and then just climb onto his bed because he couldn't walk in that small space. And he paid so much for it. Like, people will pay thousands upon thousands of pounds every day to rent like a really not that nice space. Obviously he didn't pay thousands of pounds for that little room, but you know what I'm saying. So these flats, I feel like, are not the swankiest of places, but they know people are still going to rent them. They're just little studio kind of spaces. So that's kind of what I did. And then I put this toy shop even, because there's actually a really nice, bit controversial right now, I know, but there's a really cool Harry Potter shop in Edinburgh. This is not symbolising that, but it just reminded me of that. So I was like, oh yeah, let's put a toy shop, because there's that one, it's really famous. So I did that, and I just kind of messed around with these new wall poster decal things. I got them recently, the kids room stuff. I got that from a nursery speed build, and I just kind of started throwing them about. I didn't really know what to do with them. And then here I put like a clothing boutique kind of thing, because I feel like these are really common in Edinburgh, or in quite a few Scottish cities. We have a lot in Glasgow as well, depending on the area. It's like kind of more of a hipstery sort of vibe. I mean, this isn't, but I do this as quite a, oh, there's a bit of fluff. I do this as quite a traditionally old-fashioned kind of thing with slight modern touches. Like, they're trying to keep up with the times. I love the exterior of that build. I think that looks so beautifully picturesque. With those flowers hanging down in the blue and the wood and the pink. I think it looks gorgeous. But yeah, I've never built a clothing retail shop before, so I don't actually know what you need in it for it to be functional. I put a couple of those, and then I just put decorative things, but the mannequins are, as far as I know, the only functional items in this retail shop for clothing retail. So I'm not sure if I missed some items. Maybe there's other stuff you're supposed to put. I don't know. But that's what I did, and I think it looks nice. It's nice and spacious. And I also did, you'll see I did like a loft kind of style of this where you can go upstairs and you look down. I did that in a few of the buildings because I feel like with these sort of buildings, because they only have windows in the front of the building, they want to find ways to draw in as much natural light as possible. A lot of buildings in Edinburgh only have windows on one side because buildings are so crammed together, so there's no point in having windows the other side. So yeah, a lot of them do this because also their ceilings are so high. It's a way to kind of make the space just feel bigger, like wider as well, just not just a super slim, dark, high space. And I think it also adds a modern industrial sort of touch. And I do think a lot of these buildings have more of an industrial vibe as well, because I think that at the point when these buildings started to become a touristy thing was very much during an industrial time. So that's the aesthetic they went for. But I do really like this space up here. It turns into a cute little cozy space and some seats and stuff. I feel like a lot of these places are just kind of more hangouts than like shops. They're just a really nice welcoming atmosphere. Yeah, I feel like cafes and stuff that are very casual are like the best places to go and hang out, you know, rather than like a chain. There was a cafe in Glasgow and I used to live there. I used to go there a lot, and it was quite a small place and it was never very busy. But everyone that went there knew each other, and like at first going in there was really intimidating because I could tell everyone knew each other and I was just the random newbie. But places like that are so amazing when you start going there regularly, because it just becomes like a great place to go and just chat with people and be comfortable, you know? And I feel like a lot of these places have that sort of atmosphere. So that's quite nice. And then here I wanted to do a photo studio. I wanted to use that photo booth thing from Get to Work, but it was too big to use, so I had to just do like a makeshift photo studio. But I do like it. I think this has a really cool vibe because it's a little bit more modern than the rest of the places, and I love those floorboards. They came with the spooky stuff pack and they are so gorgeous. I just love how thick they are. But yeah, and then upstairs I do like an art studio where you can go paint and stuff, and then I do a little kids section there as well because we can't forget the little kiddies. But yeah, the speed build is basically coming to an end. So I basically just wanted to say I'm sorry for blabbing pretty much not about the build. You might have enjoyed it, you might not. Let me know in the comments if you're happy to hear me talk about other stuff as well, because I don't know what I can really say about the build other than repeating myself a lot. Let me know if you don't mind me talking about other stuff, or if maybe in the next episode you want to see me talk more about the build. Just let me know and I can switch it up if you want. There will be some screenshots in just a second for you to check out. But I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy this, please remember to like and subscribe because it really does mean the world to me. And I hope you're excited for part 2. I can't wait to start working on it because I haven't started yet, but I will soon. Thank you so much for watching, and I will speak to you all very, very soon. Bye bye!